Welcome everyone to the training webinar series Recalls in Eyefinity Encompass presentation. Thank you for joining us today. We look forward to your questions throughout the presentation, and you can enter them by clicking on the Q&A icon on the top of your screen. My name is Linda Park, and it is my pleasure to be with you today to introduce Tammy Lynch. Tammy has more than 30 years of medical billing experience and holds the Bachelor of Arts in Business Administration, as well as many certifications in software development. She's trained at our Eyefinity education conferences, on-sites, and hands-on sessions. In her spare time, she enjoys spending time with her EHR family, traveling, spending long days on the beach, and watching college football. She's known for her patience and flexibility. Welcome, Tammy.
Thank you, Linda. Let's go ahead and get started. I am going to unshare this screen and move to my next screen, and I am going to log in to Eyefinity. There we go. And Linda, can you just verify that you're able to see my screen?
Yes, we can see your Encompass screen. Thank you.
Perfect. So today I'm going to walk through recalls and patient letters within the system. I'm going to show you where they are. We're going to edit them. We're going to create them. And then I'm going to show you where the recalls go in your patient profile. And then we're going to pull a couple of reports to see those patients that need to be recalled and see how to turn those letters. While we're in here, this particular session, so there's recalls. Recalls are basically a reminder, a communication reminder to your patients that you need to schedule another year exam, an annual exam. So you can send these out in various ways. There are some companies that will text message. There are some companies that will do telephone calls and leave messages. There's a few companies who might do emailing. And then you can actually physically mail these with the post office. That is what today's covering. We're going to cover the part where you can go in, print these letters, print your mailing label, put it in an envelope, and mail these to your patients with a letter or a postcard. So that's kind of today. Where are they located? So they are located in administration. So I'm going to go into administration. And at the very top on the far right, the blue navigation bar, patient engagement. And underneath patient engagement, you'll see recall types and letter templates. Let's start with recall types. I'm going to click on it. We do here in Encompass, we do give you some examples, some samples, something to start with. They're usable. You can use them. You can also edit them. You can also create your own. Lots of different choices here. With our recall types in here, the way that we have them set up is we have a recall type, the name. That name is something that you get to choose. The months to the recall schedule, and we're going to look at this a little bit more closely here in just a minute, and then whether your recall is going to be active or not. So just as an example, looking at the screen that we have, let's see, there's 5 of them here. These first 5, they are all checked to be active. So if I were to go into a patient's profile and add a recall, these would be the 5 that I would have to choose from. These ones down below, they are not active, so they would not be on the list. So this is the active box here controls what you see in the patient profile as far as the recall. So let's do this. Let's just look at a recall, one of these recalls in here. I'm just going to pick one. Let's look at the 12-month, the annual eye exam 12-month. So we named it annual eye exam 12 months. Again, this can be changed. You can name it whatever you want. We want this recall to be 12 months. We want a 12-month recall. This little pen here is how I go in and I edit my recall schedule. I'm going to click on it, and it's going to bring up this box, and we'll talk through this. Again, this is just what we have in here. You can do it however you feel that it would be better for your practice. What this is, the schedule is the number of periods. So this could be number of months or number of weeks. The period consists of weeks or months. So it's weeks or months. And then when. The choices you have are before and after. So when we're talking about this recall to have the patient come back in 12 months, in this first line, what we're asking the recall to do is 1 month before their scheduled recall, remind the patient that they need to call us and schedule their annual appointment. If the patient does not call and does not schedule, we're dropping down to the second line and we're asking the system to send a recall 1 month after their recall when they should have been seen. So we're trying to catch them. We'll send out the first one before. And then in this scenario, they did not make the appointment. We'll send a second reminder a month later. With that, if they still don't call to schedule their appointment, this is optional. I've seen offices come in here and they're like, all right, well, we're going to send another reminder 2 weeks after that second one was sent. And then after that, if they're not calling, that they're not interested or something's happened or they haven't had time, some doctors are like, that's all, that's enough that I want to bother them. Then they'll do the next one at 12 months, which would wrap them back up to their original. Because if they do not schedule with you, you won't be putting in a new recall. So it's still going to be that original recall from the very first try. Again, these are just options. You can be more strict. I've seen offices where they won't do a month after. They might be a 2 weeks, and they might do another 2 weeks and another 2 weeks and another 2 weeks, and then they might do a month. And it depends on how much you want to keep asking the system to send out these reminders to your patients. Okay, I'm going to hit the save button, and I'm going to show you how you can build your own. The recall, you can hit this little plus recall type, and it's just going to open up this box to allow me to actually name my recall. We'll just kind of name it, let's see, we'll do webinar test to kind of show you. So I've named my webinar test, and then I can just tell it, we'll just do it 12 months. And then what I have to do is I have to hit the save button. If I try to go in to click this recall schedule, it's going to say, click the save button. So once you put in the name of the recall and the number of months, you'll click save. And now you'll see it's kind of saved down here at the bottom. It does automatically activate it. So you can always, if you're not ready, you can always inactivate it, but it will populate activated. And now it's going to give me this plus recall schedule. So the same thing as this pen. This pen is just telling me there's already a recall schedule added. The ones that say add a recall schedule, that's what that is. So when I click in here, the box is just going to be empty. And that's when I'm going to come in and I'm going to add my schedule. And I can do number of months before, and then I would pick whichever recall I want. So if I want to do a 12 month, and then I can do another, just keep adding them down and down. I can just keep adding and adding. When I realize if I don't need something, I've got a delete button here, I can delete it. If you just wanted to be, I'm only going to notify them one time, then that's what it is. You're done. If they do not, again, if they do not schedule and you want to notify them again, you can add another recall schedule. And then you could do, maybe you want to do 6 weeks. Maybe you don't want to, too much time, but you don't, 6 weeks, you can do weeks. So that's kind of how it works. If this, and always hit your save button or else you'll lose all your changes. One more thing, I'm going to pop in here. One thing I want to make clear. When we did this 12-month one, so we talked about if they don't book an appointment and the recall is not going to work, they're going to get this recall. But let's say they call, they schedule, they come in for their appointment, you're going to do their next recall. It is not going to do any of these other callbacks. So as soon as they schedule and they come in and they've had their visit and you do the new recall, it'll void all of these. They will not trigger. Okay. So that's the recalls. Again, coming in here, like you can see, we've got a 1 month follow-up. We've got our 3 month IOP check, dilated fundus. You can make these whatever you want. These are just names. You can see we play in here. It will make you, if you, I won't mess with Michelle's, but if I were to change, I can go in here and I can edit my name. So maybe I just want to do webinar test 4 or something like that. It will let you edit. So you are able to edit these. Just remember, every time you make a change, you're going to hit that save button to save your changes. Okay. So these are the recalls where you'll set up. Again, we're going to give you some recalls. It's usually these few 5 here. Use them, or you can go in and edit them as you want, or you can add your own. Okay. So when I come back up to the top again and I hover over my patient engagement, there's where you can also get your letter templates. So I'm going to go into the letter templates. Sometimes this does take a second to load. I am in my location, Optical by the Bay. So you can see Optical by the Bay, you can see letter templates. As this is setting up, I'll kind of talk as it's going through. These letters, again, we're going to give you sample letters. You can use them. You can create your brand new ones. You can edit them. You can clone them. So that means you can copy them if you want to copy additional letters. These are letters, postcards. Here we go. So this first section up here, the templates, we'll kind of start in this upper left-hand corner. We have default templates. These are going to be the ones that you'll see. There's a little plus button that's going to open it up, and you'll see postcard or labels. If I want to do a postcard, I'm going to hit that little plus button there, and it's going to show I have it set up for a recall. And now when I click this little recall button, here's all my recalls that I've populated for my postcards. Let me just click on one. I'm just going to click on one. So different styles, different ways that you can set these up. So you can see this one is set up with the patient's information pushed to the far right. Basically what this is, I call it a raw letter. It is a templated raw letter. You see that we're asking patient's full name, patient's address to patient, city, state, zip. And then we have in these little boxes here, the patient name. These are what we refer to as merge fields. If you guys, anybody on the call that uses EHR, it's similar, not the same, but it's similar to auto letters in EHR admin. So in practice management over here in Encompass, we have the merge fields here. And again, if you hit the plus buttons, it'll give you information about the patient. We have information about if you're going to do a letter or a postcard and you need their carrier name added or their plan name added, subscriber information, and then this is your office. So this here, the office, is how it's signed. So you can see this letter will be directed to a patient, and then this verbiage is what you would put in. So again, this verbiage can be whatever you want it to be. Yeah, this one's pretty simple. It's time for your 6-month dilated fundus exam, and then you could add additional information if you want. If you didn't want to add that, you could certainly take that off. Please contact our office to schedule your appointment. Best regards. And then this would give your office name, your office address, and the office phone number. So nicely, they could look at it, read it, and hopefully grab the phone and call you right away to schedule that appointment for you. Again, different ways that you can do this. It's very much like a Word document. You have a bold button up here. You can italicize, you can underline, you can change fonts, you can change colors, you can change the size. Again, very, very much like what a Word document is. Let me just click on some of these. I was trying to look. So this one here, so the difference, we moved it over. This looks more like a little postcard here. Once you've got the postcard here, you could come down to this bottom right-hand corner and click PDF preview. I'm going to click it, and it's going to take a second. And I'm going to move this over. Hopefully you can see that. I just kind of want to show you what's happening here. So this here, the raw, has turned into this little postcard here. So again, the merge fields, what it's doing is, this is my sample patient. So it's pulling there's no patient data ever on any of these merging, on any of these templates. This is the merge field. When it combines, it'll merge the patient's information right into the letter. So again, this over here on the left is the original. And then on the right, this is what the view would look like. Okay. And you could see if some people might put, the word dear in front of John. It's really up to you. You can customize this however you want it. But this is how it will look when you go to print them. Okay. If you don't have a third, this pound 999, that's like, I guess, an apartment, it's that address too. If you don't want to include an address too, you can remove it. If you remove it, it will leave a blank space between here if the patient doesn't have a second address. So just little kind of things. And you can just kind of scroll down. It's just, these are my test patients in here that it's pulling little postcards for. And you would just print these out and then you would put them in an envelope and then you would mail them out. I'm going to move it back over and I'm going to close it there for a second. And a lot of these are very similar in nature. You could put in your phone number. This one's here, put in the call to schedule versus putting in the phone number at the bottom. Just whatever you guys want to do, whatever you want them to look like. These are just samples. Okay. When I come into here, so let's say I like my 3-month IOP, and I want to copy this. When you come over here and you right click, you can clone. So it's the same thing. If I want to clone this 3 months, so maybe I want I like it, but I want to make some changes, I can hit clone. And then what it'll do is it'll make a second one for me. So now I can go in and I can go in and make changes. And then I would be able to save it with my new name. And then I would be able to use it in the future if I needed it. At the same time, I'm also able to right click and delete, or I can add. So it lets you do several different things by right clicking in here. I'm going to close up this recall. Here is a welcome letter. Thank you to the patient. I'm going to click on this web test. And you can see this is again, let me see if I can get one to pop up. This is one that there we go. Very vague. This should be more of a letter, but this is where I would say, look at it before you get it ready to start, because I'm looking at this and I notice, wow, I didn't do a very good job at moving and placing the words where I wanted it to. So it gives me a chance to go back and remove and add how I needed to do it. So customization, very nice to do that. This was my test. I'm going to go ahead and delete that template since it was my test. If I come back under my templates, here's some letters. Here's my recall letters. So again, before we saw the little postcards, now these are going to fit more on letter paper. So you can do, if you have the little postcard size, you would use the postcard. Letters, you're going to use the letters, and that'll give you the full size sheet here. So same thing. Again, different ways that you can add these in here. When I right click for the letters, the same functionality. You can add a template, clone a template, or delete a template. Same thing. When I come in here, if I want to start all over, so this is editing, more like editing. Up here at the top, I can choose my template name. I can choose if I want it to be a letter or postcard. I can even add a category. So let's look at how we can create a brand new one on your own. There's a plus template button over here, and we're simply just going to click on it. What it's going to do, it's going to open up this where I can actually type in. And since that's in my Google, I'm just going to use Webinar Test 2. So I'm going to name my template. And then I'm going to tell it, do I want a letter or do I want a postcard? Either way, you can do it. This is set at a recall, but if I wanted to, maybe I wanted to do a birthday. So the month of November birthdays are coming up, and I just wanted to send a little postcard, happy birthday. I could do that. Delinquency, if you're sending out a letter or something to a patient, they're delinquent, you can use the category delinquency. You can see there's some marketing, the recall. If you're sending referrals to doctors or patients who've referred patients to you, you could send a little postcard. Thank you for your referral. Kind of a cute little design it however you wanted to do it. Kind of cool. So I'll just do a quick thank you for a postcard. So the way that this works, let me close this so we're looking. It's these merge fields. So again, the merge fields drive your letter. I like shortcuts. So I like to come in and just kind of grab, you could start here. I could hit my poker. I could find something under the patient, like patient's full name. I can double click it. It'll pop over there. I can also, I'm going to remove that too. I could also choose full name and I can drag and drop it. So different ways that you can do it. The thing with it is making sure that you've got it lined up how you want it lined up. Sometimes you get it lined up perfectly and then you're like, you have a trouble. It's kind of hard to see sometimes. So I sometimes like to just go in and kind of do a little bit of a cheat. Let me find one that I like that looks, here we go. Like I like to kind of copy and paste into a new one. Sometimes that's helpful. I think it looks better that way, but some people would not like to do that. And now I just lost my little template. Let me get that back again. Sorry about that. Let me see if it'll let me paste it really quick. There we go. So what were we, webinar two? There we go. So yeah, copying and pasting, you can do that. If you have another document, so you've already have a letter that you've already put out there, let's say it's a Word document, you can copy and you can paste it right in here. So you don't have to kind of do all this from scratch. Just make sure that you don't have the patient's information actually up here. So with that, I'm going to come behind the zip code, just like writing a letter. I'm clicking my enter button. And then again, here, if you want, you could, dear, and then you would want the patient's name. So I could come maybe just their first name. And then you could put a comma after that. Again, these are just showing you how this function works. And then this is where you could put in there whatever you wanted to put in there. You can say thank you for your, or you could actually say, yeah, for your referral. We appreciate it. Whatever it is that you needed to say, you're going to put it in there. You're going to free text that word. That's what you're going to free text that little space right there. Let me just finish. We appreciate your, trying to think of a word, and now I'm on the spot. Thank you for your referral. We appreciate your help. We'll just kind of put in there. I'm going to hit the button, the enter button. And again, I could go down and I could put best regards, sincerely, whatever it is that you want to put, or you can just leave it blank. Or you could put thank you in there again. And then down here again is where you could sign it and probably want your office name. That just makes sense. I'm going to put the little, cursor behind there. I'm going to hit enter. And then if you want to put your address, maybe you don't want your address. Maybe you just want your phone number. And then you can save it. Again, this is it tells me that it's saved. I'm going to hit OK. And then once it pops up, I'm going to click on it and then it'll give me the ability to be able to use it. Now I can still come in here and I can still make changes. I can still edit it. If I don't like it, I can delete it. I have all those same options. Okay. I can close all these up so that I don't have to see if I only want to see what I want, kind of make this here. All right. And then for here, I could hit my preview if I wanted to see what it looked like, which again, I encourage you before, make sure you always look at it. And again, these are very, very simple. Very, very simple. Thank you for your role. Of course, what you had there, the Livonia office and your phone number. Okay. And then again, you would just print these out. Right. So that is the letters. And again, I got there through administration and up here in the patient engagement. So again, we covered the recalls, create, edit, same with letters. You can create and edit your letters. Okay. Now, one thing that I want to do before we leave admin, I do want to come up to the product and services and I want to look at the service setup because I want to show you a shortcut that hopefully you're using for your recalls. And that is the shortcut right here. I'm going to look at an exam here. Over here to the right, we have this recall reminder box here. And this recall reminder, you can click on the tooltips and it'll let you, check to see if you would like a recall reminder to appear after the service is invoiced. So basically, you're invoicing your exam and you process it, your receipt or the invoice pops up, and then a box would pop up. If you had this checked, a box will pop up, and it's just a reminder to you to go ahead and add the recall right that second. 2 clicks and you're done. You're kind of, well, 3 clicks. You're clicking it, the box, you're choosing which one, and then you're adding the recall automatically. It'll add that for you. If this box is not checked, then it's more manual, and somebody's going to have to remember to go in there to add that recall manually. So I do like to point out this little shortcut here. Now let's go back over into front office and let's talk about where are these recalls. And I am going to search a patient. I'm just going to search a test patient. Under the patient's profile, under the appointments, that is where the recalls are. So this is where you're going to come, and I'm going to click on it. And this is where I can see this down below. This is one from 2025. This has already passed. This is the history. So this was a postcard. It has already been sent out. It's already been completed. Up here at the top would be anyone's coming in the future. So you can see that this is an annual eye exam set to recall in 12 months, which would be October 2026. So this is how the system is tracking when you need to send out those recalls. And I'll show you the report here in just a second. So if you have a recall that you need to add manually, simply you just click this little plus recall button. And then this is the drop down. So these are the recalls that we were looking at a moment ago in administration. And I left the webinar test for active just so you could visually see it. Obviously, that's not the best choice here. So I will go inactivate it, and then that will remove it off this list. So my team won't have to see that when they're coming in here playing. But that's, you would just choose, and we'll just choose a 1-month follow-up just to kind of show you. The system automatically puts the dates in there for you. So you don't have to do anything but hit the save button. However, if you're looking at this and you want to change, for some reason you do need to change the next recall, use the calendar and you can simply go in there and you can change the recall. Maybe you want it to be on the 1st, and then you would hit save. And now you can see it's up here, my 1-month recall, to recall in 1 month on the 1st of November. And this is basically the time that it's telling if the patient needs to come in the 1st of November. Generally, those recalls are going to go out the first 2 weeks of the month before. So give them time to call and schedule. If I decided, oh, you know what, I don't really need this 1-month recall, I do have a trash can. I can simply trash it, delete it, and now it's gone. Once they come in for this exam next year, this is going to drop down below, and hopefully you'll put in the new recall for 2027. So that's kind of how the recalls are to get to the actual patients. Okay. So now we're going to go in and we're going to look at how are these recalls, how do you do the reporting for these recalls? We're going to go under reporting and we're going to go under standard reports. And it is under marketing reports. Now, there are 3 reports in here. The referral source tracking, if you're tracking currently, I believe it's only able to track non-providers and patients. But there is a report in here that's underneath marketing. The other 2, so you have a patient with no recall, and then you have your recall. So these would be patients with recall. I am going to click on this patient with no recall. This worked for me yesterday. I had a problem with it right before this call. I'm going to see if it'll let me bring it up. If not, really all this report is showing you is the patients that are in your system that do not have a recall scheduled. That's exactly what that report is. So if you're forget to do the recall, you don't have time to do the recall, you should be able to run this report. You could do it daily, weekly, monthly, to try to make sure that you catch those patients that you might not have been able to do when they were checking out. It looks like it's still down. Yes, I apologize for that, but it is just a very, just shows the patient's name. It gives you their phone number. And just telling you, hey, go to their profile, add the recall. When you add the recall, it'll remove it right from that report for you. Okay, so a really good report to see who in your database does not have a recall, and you might want to look at it and go in there and add a recall so that they're on the recall schedule. So the recall schedule is this recall one. I'm going to click on it. Couple of things here. You can do two types. You can do a scheduled recall, or you can recall your patients by their last exam date. And that is these two blue buttons in the upper right-hand corner. If you're going to do a scheduled recall report, it's this plus button. If you want to do it by last exam date, it's this button. We'll walk through both and kind of show you, but I want to kind of look at a couple of things on this screen. It doesn't delete. Every time you pull a report, it's going to just keep adding it to the top. So that's what you're seeing, 34 pages of just recalling and in the system doing the recall. So you'll always get to see your recalls. So the date would be the actual date. So you can see I was in here yesterday making sure that I could pull up patients. So this is the date that you're actually pulling the report. The description and the type. You'll notice these little blue hyperlinks and it says 7 selected, and you're probably thinking, what the heck does that mean? If you hover over it, it's 7 in this report. There were 7 recalls that I selected. So we'll look, you're able, if you just want to know the 1-month follow-ups, you can do that. This one, I selected them all. So it's just showing me I've got 7 selected recall types on this report. Here's my type. So these are scheduled, which is this one here, or by last exam date. So it's kind of differentiating between the two. My recall range. So this is something that you're going to put in, and we're going to look at that. This is what the system brought back. So for the last exam date, it brought back 9 patients. For this scheduled recall, it brought back 1 patient in this time period. And again, this one here, resource, I asked it to just, I wanted to be the only resource. I'm the only resource to pull from, but down here, it's 8. So I've got my team members in there of all resources. So you can choose which resource or how many resources you want. And then your office. Again, my office name is ETOM1. That's the ones I use, but you can see down here, these are ETOM1 and ETOM2. So my 2 different locations. So this report is 2 locations. And then you can export to Excel, you can export to PDF, and you can print here your mailing labels. So let's talk about here how to get these reports here. And we'll run one of each. We'll do a scheduled recall report first. I'm just going to click the button. And it's going to ask me to fill in this information. So it's going to want a description. So I'm going to say, I'm going to start it with a 10, today's date. I'm going to put in webinar recall test. Name it whatever you want. And then it's going to ask you for this, what dates do you want it to pull from? This is our training environment, and obviously you guys use yours every day. You do recalls every day. We don't necessarily do that. So I'm going to actually kind of backdate this back to like the first of the year to make sure that I can get some patients to populate. And I'll do it through like October. Let's see, I'll do it from like the 20th just to get some information here. Okay, so you make the name. You are going to decide the date. So most likely you're probably going to do these a month at a time. Typically, if December's coming up, you might do these for November, those types of things. Recall type. This is where there's 6 selected. You know, maybe I don't want to check the webinar test. You know, I can deselect them all and only check the ones I want, or I can select them all. Up to you. And here's the provider. So in our training environment, we have 47 providers and we have an unassigned provider. I can check them all, or I can unselect and only select the ones that I want. So you have that choice. I'm just going to use my active providers. So I'm going to deselect everybody, and then I'm only going to activate my providers, which I think I will be able to get some information off of. And then I'm going to click out of it. There is a box here that says only show patients with active email addresses, and I'll hover over the tool. This is actually will show, if I check this box, it's only going to bring me back patients who have email addresses. Now, very important, we do not in Encompass, we'll put the addresses, the email addresses on here for you, but you're not able to actually email these out of Encompass. I know other offices they like that. They like to go over to their personal email that is encrypted, and they might send emails that way. And this just gives them an easier way to see those email addresses. But we do not email out of Encompass, just the letters here you can print. Okay. So if you want to see only, I'm not sure we've got a lot of email addresses on a lot of our patients, so I'm going to leave it not checked. So I want to see everybody. And then you can cancel, or I'm going to run the report. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to run the report, and it's going to go through the information that I asked it for, and it gave me this top one here at the top. So today's date, today's 22nd. This is what I named my description. I wanted all the recall types. I did a scheduled recall for the year. It brought me back 15 patients. I have 8 selected resources. Those were my doctors, and I'm out of ETOM 1. When I do that, I'm clicking on this here, and here it's listing those 15 patients. And I can look and see that some of them looks like they've scheduled. They've got some dates in here. It does give me their last exam date. These are letters. And then I got the patient's phone numbers and the location here. So what I could do from here is, if I wanted to, I could print everything. I like to use this print all letters button. That's just what I like to do. When I click that print all letters button, it's going to pop me up the letters. And then this is where you could print off of here. So now what we're going to see those letters that we created and edited in admin with our live patient information here. So I have Fred Astaire, and as I come down, different, and these, again, this is a training environment, so we're going to get some interesting looking things in here. You can hear, yeah. So these are just the patients that are on my list here. And you would go out, you would print these, okay? You could also copy, at first, if you just wanted to do certain ones, you could print them too. If you had any postcards, you could hit the print postcard button, and it would print out the postcards, all right? To close that, I'm just clicking on this description type, and it kind of closes that there. So opening it, closing it, okay? So this was our scheduled recall. I could do also by last exam date, and I could pop it open. And again, I could put in there, I'll just use last exam date test. I'll put in the date just so we know that it's today, but you can see that it is today. Again, you're going to do the last exam date to and from. I don't know that I'm going to get a whole lot again on here, so I'm just going to free text January to the current day. Again, you would pick your own. Now this, again, I just do whatever's on the screen. It does allow you to filter by exam type. I'm going to click in the drop down, and you can see you can filter by any exam type that you want. I want them all. For me, it's easier. There might be a situation in your practice where you might just want to pick a specific, maybe you just want to do contact lenses or something. I'm going to select all here. This box over here, and notice it says 1463 items selected. I'm going to click in the drop down. These are all more or less diagnoses. I usually just leave these all selected. Doctors' offices that I've done, they don't usually do anything with this. I'm not going to go all the way down 1,000, but they just usually leave this as is. There's really no need to choose a specific diagnosis. Again, only show patients with active email addresses. You could check that if you just wanted to show active email addresses. And then this little box here, include converted last exam dates. And I'm going to hover over the toolbar, and it says select to include all patients converted from your old system who have last exam dates but do not have invoiced exams. So again, check it, uncheck it. I have seen sometimes if you're coming from an old system, for instance, OfficeMate, and you didn't do the recall, sometimes this could be pretty large. So you can click it, try it with it, and then try it without it. Some of that stuff might not be as helpful in the system. I'm going to uncheck it just because we don't have any converted information in our training system here. And then I'm just going to run the report and see what I get. This one I did for the full year, so it might take, oh, there it is. So there's the one I did, today's date. It didn't find any patients. Again, because our training, we don't necessarily work a lot of the recalls. We don't give our patients recalls in here, our mistake. But that's just telling me that there aren't any. I can go in here if I wanted to change the information. You know, I don't know that this is going to be helpful, but if I change it to 2024, and run the report, I can edit whatever I need to. And now it popped up. Woo, I have 41. Okay. So 41 that I went back to 2024. So now I don't notice I don't have an edit button anymore because it gave me some information. So again, it's going to auto populate here. I'm hoping it's going to look good. I did not test anything from 2024. So we'll give it just a second. There we go. Oh, this is the list, my recall list. Yep. So this is telling me the dates, all of these patients. So this is how I can go back through. It's 3 pages. Click on here again by the last exam date. And again, I don't have any insight to, you know, what's better, scheduled recall date or last exam date. That's really more of a personal preference for you guys to decide which you like better. Okay. I did forget to tell you this little button here. I think it might give me a little bit of issues. It's my Adobe reader, but this is where you would get your list of your labels. The system will give you a list of labels. Within the help menu, we do have the labels that are best to use. I believe they're Avery 5650. They will line up, make sure they're all lined up. This did this to me yesterday. Again, it's spun. I think I have an outdated version of Adobe that I will get fixed and updated, but that's what the little printer button there is for. And I hovered over, it says print mailing labels. So that's how, and it's only going to give you the mailing labels for the patients that are in the patient count. So if there's no patients in your patient count, then there won't be any mailing labels. Okay. And again, just to recap, if you're trying to go in for patient engagement, recall types, edit, create, same with letters, edit, create, kind of look at your letters before you send them out, making sure that you know how to add those recalls underneath your patients. You're going to look in their profile and you're just going to look under recalls. And you can see here, the recalls that have passed will be down at the bottom. The recalls that have not come yet will be at the top. And this would have been one of my perfect examples if I could get that patient with no recall. Ava would have shown up on there. She doesn't have a recall. So what I could do is I could have seen her name on there and then I could come in here and based off of her, maybe I know she's coming in or I could add a recall to her and that would take that off of that list. And again, if I wanted to, I could delete it too if I didn't want it on there, right? So under the patient profile is where you add the recalls. And then those reports under reporting, under standard reports, and it's under marketing. And you've got your recall and your patients with no recall. Any additional information that you want in here, help menu is available and you can simply come in here and go to the help menu and just type in the word recall. You're going to get several options. Kind of just go through here, find out what you're looking for. You can do a PDF. If you're more of a video person, they come and have the videos. You can watch the video if you wanted to do that. You can also get to our community support with any other additional information or questions that you have on recalls. And Linda, that's all that I have. Are there any questions?
Yes, it looks like we have a couple.
Okay.
The first one is what does the recall create? A prompt to print a mailing label? And
Yeah,
that
so
came in more toward the beginning of the
yeah, and
webinar, just to
yeah,
clarify.
not a problem, but just to recap, yes. In your recalls, you can print the letters by clicking on the recall and you can print the letters here. But if you want the mailing, it's going to print only for, so in this case, what were there? Probably 10-ish. There's 10 letters, then there would be 10. And if I could get this to pop up, it's again, my Adobe is, yeah, it's just giving me errors. It would only print the 10 for these patients' addresses. Great question. Yes.
Okay, perfect. And then one more question. Am I overlooking where to filter the resource/provider?
So let me do this. Let me come in here. It's right here for a provider. So when you're coming in here, you can filter. So it's going to automatically populate with everybody. Again, you guys probably don't have 47 providers in your system. But you can come down here and you can, I like to just deselect all, and then you could come down here and select the ones. In our system, we have some active, we just have a bunch of inactive providers in here that we'll look at moving out of here. But yeah, you can select. If I just wanted to see Jonathan, I don't know that Jonathan has anything, but yeah, you would just select your providers here. You can also do that. That is the scheduled, and then the by one. This one doesn't allow you, I'm looking, this one doesn't allow you to select by provider. This one only lets you just select by office visit filter. Yeah, so you're scheduled to recall, you can. Did that answer your question?
It looks like it. And with that, doesn't look like we have any more questions. So let's just, if you can put it back to the PowerPoint.
I am. I'm just a little,
Perfect.
I'm sorry. I was like, I had to find my mouse there. Got it. Okay.
Okay, and if you're looking for more training, we have more learning options available, including documentation, tutorials and walkthroughs, role-based training, additional training webinars, one-on-one virtual training, and on-site training or consultations. You can learn more at eyefinity.com/education. And with that, I would like to thank you, Tammy, for taking the time to go over creating recalls in Eyefinity Encompass. And thank you to everyone on the line for taking time out of your busy schedule to be with us today. This concludes our presentation.